That's Save a Soul. The Harmonators there, 101.5 FM. It's all about 25 past 6 o'clock on a Thursday night. Thanks for your company. Now, a young lady that we're going to be talking to next, we caught up with her probably about 12 or 18 months ago, something like that, just to see how she's going. And, of course, at the moment it's only 25 minutes past 4 in Western Australia, but I thought I'd just mention that. This young lady has got the acceptance speech down pat. She wins more awards than the post office opens envelopes. Fair dinkum got down to it. So the award for the person to win the most awards on Tracy and the Big D is Connie Kis Andersen. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. I'll have to set my acceptance speech over as a template for you guys.
Yeah. We'll pop it up there. Boy, you've had a busy year.
I have indeed, yeah. It's sort of, as you know, us indies, we have to get on our bikes and really travel real hard, when we've got a new album out. And so this last year, had the new album out and so basically decided I was going to enter anything and everything that I could. And I was a bit surprised, but I'm very flattered and very honoured too to be awarded some of these awards. It's a privilege and an honour.
Well, I mean, it's no surprise. It's a very good album. It's done some great things for you, and a new single out now.
I have indeed, yes. I've got it's the fourth single from the album, so it's sort of. Usually I think, an album you release about 4, and I've been really privileged. The first 3 have done very well for me, and fingers crossed this one will take the fantasy, if you wish, of all your listeners, and they can run with it. But it's sort of one. I'm actually a songwriter. Is my first joy, and so. I usually only release songs that I write because one of my long-term goals is to actually write for other artists. So I sort of want to be able to sort of stand on my own 2 feet as far as a writer and show the world what I can do. So this one I sort of decided, because it was one that was solely written by me, that I'd release it. And I've had so much sort of behind-the-scenes positive feedback. I thought, well, I'll go with this one and see what they think.
Not to underestimate or understate, it's been it's a huge effort for someone from Western Australia. We've had a couple of guests on over the last couple of months from Western Australia. It's not as if it's got the biggest following of country music over there. It's a pretty big effort from the other side of the country to get that sort of airplay and recognition.
Yeah. It is. I will admit that. I mean, I didn't coin this phrase, but a friend of mine did, and it's, often we're sort of treated as West aliens, not West Australians. And, it's sort of, I think you need fortitude to be able to actually sort of, you need to hang in there. When I sort of started this, I knew it was going to be the long haul, and then I really had to sort of dig my heels in and not give up when I felt like doing so. There's been plenty of times, because Western Australia truly is such a faraway place. But I'm actually a big believer in a national country music family. I really believe that, and so I choose to live in Western Australia. I choose for many reasons. I have family that, my mum and dad have moved here, and it would break their heart if I left them now, and there's all sorts of little personal reasons that I choose to live here. But, the world is so small nowadays that we can really get out there and be one big community,
That's exactly right. Now, Connie, you were saying before that you ultimately would like to be a songwriter. Have you written any songs for any other artists that may have been singing them, or you actually recorded them?
Well, that's an interesting question, because this is how I fell into this recording artist thing. I've always been a bar singer, and I've always been singing, sort of until, someone shoots me and tells me not to do it anymore. But
I thought you said bath singer.
Bath singer. I
was going to say I'm a shower singer.
Yeah, well, I do sing in the bath as well. No, so, I started out as the songwriter, and I was actually pitching my songs to our artists over here in Australia or over East, and I get the usual sort of thing. The feedback basically is that most of our Aussie artists, they're all good writers. They write for themselves, and and so there's not that much of a market. So then I started expanding my horizons, and I started pitching my music overseas. And believe it or not, my greatest claim to fame was that I pitched to Celine Dion, and her camp actually sent me the gilt-etched gold letter saying it had been passed on to A&R. A&R in Canada, Sony A&R called me in the middle of the night for another copy of the song, and that was it. but meaning I truly got attention at that level, you know, and that's as close as I've gotten to someone else recording my song. But one of the things is for me to hone my craft and be a standalone songwriter for others, you know, and that's one of my side goals, if you wish. You know?
Well, one of the biggest songwriters that sort of come to light over the last few years, a lot of people, is Kris Kristofferson. If you look at Connie Kis Andersen, you can sort of mix those letters around a little bit, and there's a bit of Kris Kristofferson in there, isn't there?
Well, you know, it's funny you should say that, because when people actually ask me, you know, who you know, to play a legend, I just recently did an interview and they asked me to pick a legend to play. You know, Kris Kristofferson always comes up. He is a legendary songwriter, and one that I hold in a very high esteem, you know. And so thank you. That's a great compliment to me, very much so. You know?
Now, you mentioned this was the fourth song off the album, which is a pretty good achievement. I mean, it's very rare you're going to get many more than four. You might get the odd one that pulls five, but four's a pretty good achievement. So there's obviously the look to the horizon and what's next. Being a songwriter, plenty of things to choose from for a new album.
Well, interesting that you should say that too. I sort of I've had an interesting year. Some health issues this past year I've not really made very terribly public, but they've held me back a little bit. And so I sort of had to split my focus, if you wish, to getting better, which is all behind me now. But the other thing is like, what am I going to do for the future, you know? And one of the things, when I sort of said to you before that I've been, you have to be in there for the long haul, I've actually got, you know, two other albums that are all original, or pretty well all original, that in a sense were underexploited before I actually came to people's attention. And what I actually am thinking seriously of doing is not doing a best of, but doing my favourites, but stripping them right back to a roots and country sort of almost a singer-songwriter acoustic sort of thing. That's on the cards, maybe, with early material that just fell under the radar.
And, you know, a lot of people actually do that, and you find that diamond in the rough, and all of a sudden it's like, wow. And you're exactly right. Until you actually get that first bit of recognition, people go, oh, it's just another singer. And all of a sudden the name becomes, you know, like, oh, wait a minute, we know that name. And then it is something that you may have done even 10, 15 years ago. It's like, oh, my goodness, and all of a sudden here it is, and it's a brand new song. But it's something that was done 15 years ago.
Exactly. And you know, in those earlier songs is the song that Celine Dion, you know, pretty well put in her final sort of group of selections. There's a lot of stuff that I'm proud of, in the sense that, you know, I do study my craft, and, you know, I've been working on that for many years, and I know that they've just slipped through, you know, because of profile or lack of profile, you know, at the time. And, you know, sometimes they just need to be refreshed as well, you know. And in that period of time that I've been sort of out there, I've also developed my own sense of style. You know, in the first few albums, I handed over all creative control to someone who certainly knew better than I did in the industry. But now that I've sort of been doing it for a while, I do know my own sense of self, and even when I've been forced to do a lot of, financially forced, to do a lot of, you know, when I do travel, I travel alone, and so I've, you know, faced my fear and play and accompany myself musically, you know, with a guitar, and so I've, you know, sort of feel very comfortable in what I deliver, and so I'd like to maybe revisit these songs and put them together as a, you know, a nearly naked album.
Yeah, good. That's a great title for the album.
Yeah, now that is mine. I tell you that now.
Now, one of the things that, from what you're mentioning there too, of previous albums, I think one of the things that people can take to heart is that Gautier had 3 albums out before somebody that I used to know. came along. So there's a great opportunity that there's probably some great songs struck in amongst what you've done early. Someone discovers you now and says, gee, this woman can really write a song. And that's something that we're looking forward to doing that. Yeah. We're going to showcase your current single at the moment, like we like to do, let people hear it, and then if they do like it, why not, if they don't already, get a copy of the album? The best way to do that, Connie Kis?
Well, there's several ways. I mean, they can always just Google my name, and the Kiss is there because it's actually a Danish name. It's a derivative of Kirsten, so it's actually K-I-S, one S, and the Andersen is an S-E-N, A-N-D-E-R-S-E-N. So just Google my name, get to my website, and on my website there's a little link to purchase CDs, and it's distributed through WJO, so if you've got a Sanity or a JB Hi-Fi in town, you can go there and just order it, mention WJO. And then there's also, they could direct to my little label called Kismana Music, iTunes downloads. There's all sorts of options. CD Baby. There is no excuse.
I was about to say, so listeners, there's no excuse to get out and support this Australian artist. Hop online, Google Connie Kis Andersen today, and get in there and get an album.
How about you introduce this single for our listeners right now before we say goodnight?
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me, and I'd like to wish all your listeners a great evening, and for all the night owls out there, here's On the Other Side of Midnight.
Thanks, Connie.
Thank you.